So our houses, they might be nice, but the house of the bird is protecting it from all those things. You see, you go in your kitchen. Now, the granite here, remember Robert told you about all the materials and all that. The dark granite here is probably radioactive, you know. And then you have electricity. So electricity and radioactivity and all that, and then you prepare your food, and then you have allergies or indigestions or all that. So this is, again, the home that's supposed to protect us, you see. The bathroom, okay, paints and ceramic tiles are probably radioactive. Many of them are radioactive. It's the glaze, the glaze that you use. There are many theories. There are theories saying the glaze could come from areas sometimes where that have certain, like uranium, aluminum, and things like that, and they go into the glaze. It's a natural thing. There are some conspiracy theories saying, no, they're actually putting, their stuff, they have to get rid of all the radioactive stuff, so they get rid of it in such materials, and they sell the glaze. They sell it as a glaze. You put it on your ceramics and send it somewhere, and they tell you the radioactivity is so low that it's a second radioactivity. It won't affect anybody. Like what will happen, you know, we say after war zones, the radioactivity is so low it won't affect anybody. And then, but our houses are chemically toxic, bacteriologically toxic. You see, all those glues and veneers and all that, they use formaldehyde and different kinds of glues. After a few years, you take a sample of the air, and it's full of about 30 or 40 chemicals that you're breathing. And bacteria you have about 30 or 40 types in the air in any house. Of each type, there are about 4 that are very toxic. So electromagnetically toxic, radioactivity toxic, chemically toxic, bacteriologically toxic. What kind of houses are we building for ourselves? That's human intelligence now versus nature intelligence. So now let us go to one of the projects that Robert spoke about, the one in Hamburg. I'm going to take it now in a different context. This is the church tower. And I'm actually working on the central one, but I could point to the church tower there. I need, see? Yeah, I got it. And the one there. Okay, got it there. So now they hide the antenna in the church tower. The first thing they say, it is because this is a touristic area and we don't want to spoil the scenery, so we put it in the tower and keep the scenery nice. We don't want to put industrial things in a scenery like that. But of course, when you put it in an existing tower, it's cheaper. Yeah, because you build it there. So they put it there, and what happened here, people, besides all the problems of electrosensitivity and all that that Robert spoke about, I won't go in those now, I'll just go in one or two aspects. People stopped going to the church because they're getting headaches there. When you go under the tower and all that, many people who were already electrosensitive from the tower, and then they go under it, was impossible. So we had a big problem here, people avoiding the church. And then, besides all the health problems here, we will have a quick look. You see here, some of the people, as Robert told you, used to, on weekends, they used to sleep in the cellar and cover the beds. These are children beds. They cover them with certain cloths that had metal in them to protect them from electromagnetic radiation. So every weekend when lots of tourists go there and speak with mobile phones, the people couldn't stay in their house. They had to go there because everybody had become electrosensitive in this area. So here, this is the result. We collected the symptoms. This is an independent survey done by Dr. Yvonne Geely from the Swiss Parliament. And they collected here abstract symptoms, because we are going to speak about quality of life and not a medical research on a certain ailment. although those symptoms are based on medical results of ailments, but when we publish them at the end, we're speaking more about quality of life. But to give you an example, for example, there's a woman who had 3 children, and the 3 were epileptic, 8, 10, and 12, and each child had 5 seizures a day, and she couldn't handle it. She had to give them so much medicine, they finished. They were completely, out. They couldn't work, they couldn't play, they couldn't go to school. And lots of such cases were there, and those, when we go in, those women would come and start shouting at the government and say, look what you did to us and all that. And they wanted to blow the towers and all those things, dynamite them, but they couldn't do them because the tower was in the church. Yeah. So here we categorize the symptoms in severe, the dark brown, and here the yellow would be free of symptoms. And this would be intermediate and above average. So we have those 3 levels. When we put the BioGeometry solution, it reversed. The free of symptoms came up here. And it goes like this. Now, as an example, not one epileptic seizure happened once we installed the shapes. Not one in the whole area, in the whole region. Wow. When people came from outside and they stayed there, when tourists came with the children, no epileptic seizures. But if they went out of the region, those children, they got their seizures. But inside the area, they didn't get it. So we gave them medallions to wear and all that, so they could go out of the area to other areas. So this is those results. Here there is something. We divided the head area because we took every part of the body here. Now, this takes the head area from the physical point of view. From the physical point of view, it would be down here. And from the psychic mental point of view, emotional mental would be up here. We separated those two to see which was more prominent. And you see on the psychic mental, the reverse, the effect is very strong here. And here in the head area, okay, it's also very good. It has reversed, but much less than this. Now, if we look at, you look at those people there, they were complaining when we were taking the statistics, they were complaining of, for example, I have no taste for life. So the people who are taking the questionnaire, it's an official questionnaire in Switzerland, Germany, called the electrosmog questionnaire. So they would tell them, yes, but please, let's go to they are doctors, let's go to physical things. I mean, you're not happy? That's not, no. I have no taste for life. Yeah, but is your work okay? No, my work's okay, my family's okay, everything's perfect, but I don't enjoy life anymore. Okay? Now I can't stand my wife anymore. Finish. And she says, I can't stand him anymore. Okay. The children are a nuisance. They don't study, they don't do this. And then the neighbors. Oh, they're fighting every day with their neighbors. They're getting very aggressive. The whole area is getting very aggressive. So things like that, or I have no will. So we said, okay, if they insist that we write those things, we'll write those things. We didn't know that electricity had a direct effect on all those things. So we wrote down those things. Then we got the second guy. He said the same thing. Third family, same thing. It's a phenomena here. After a week, we installed our BioGeometry things, and a first survey was made when the people came, and you find the same people. Oh, I'm really enjoying my life. How come last week you said, no, last week that's finished. No, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, and your wife, you could send, oh no, she's my darling. And you still, no, now they work well at school. So it was a very strange thing. And after this, we sat in Toronto, we're sitting, and Dr. Michael Malley, who's here, is one of our instructors. He's a a doctor, a psychologist, and Trish Somali, they're both psychologists, and we put together an additional page for the electrosmog questionnaire that dealt with all those aspects that people felt. Now, this is one thing. We could also see it in the brain. I mean, with EEG and things like that, here we are getting, you see, these are so many symptoms. The pulse rate here doesn't show much significance, but the breathing frequency gets less by a certain percentage. The oxygen saturation in the blood increases. So there is evidence from tests that there is a reduced stress on a physical level. But that is not our effect. The spiritual context in Hamburg was the most important effect. Now, 1 year later, we went there, we had a big conference, and then the mayor was thanking me, not because of the epilepsies, not of the electrosensitives and not all that. No, he came out and said, you brought peace to our area. And you brought back the church in our hearts. Because when we worked on the energy of the church, we transformed it into healing energy. So people from the surrounding areas started coming to the church. So he was speaking in this context. And then a lady stood up and told me, look, Ibrahim, you are not telling us the truth of how you worked on us, because you always come, you're under contract with the Swiss government, and you come with the Swiss government and the providers and the engineers and all that. So you keep always explaining, you know, in waves and things like Robert explained. You keep giving us the scientific thing, but we know there is something else you're hiding. Maybe you don't want to say it, maybe something, maybe because people, you know, it was called the miracle of Hamburg, what happened there. They're calling it a miracle in Switzerland. And they said, yes, did those, some magazines and things said I was a master magician from Egypt who could perform miracles and all that. So they said, because they said such words about you, it's, you want to stick to the scientific and you don't want to tell us the truth. Now, in your science of biogeometry, there is a spiritual context. And if you don't tell us, we'll tell you because we know it. The changes that have come to us, we know it. So what does this science of yours have to do with spiritual energy? It has transformed us completely, and we know it is spiritual energy. So I said, okay. And then I explained biogeometry, how it really is the essence of biogeometry. And next day in the newspaper came, said, okay, the Egyptian, he at last said the truth now. He is using some form of spiritual energy or something like that, you know. But the people felt this when they saw their neighbor. They smiled on the road. They felt this attraction to each other. Everything changed. There was a spiritual change. I mean, okay, the birds came and nature came and all that, but there was a very important spiritual change that happened. Now, we want to go into this context here, that usually in any project, if the human mind is going to take the place of nature, the human mind now is going to bring balance into everything. That's the Anthropocene era, what I showed you in the beginning. Now, the human mind can only balance what it perceives. You cannot balance what you don't perceive. You can only balance what you perceive. Now, what you perceive is confined to your senses, and your senses show you only a very small percentage of very small ranges from the absolute reality. So add up all the vibration ranges of our senses and they come less than 1% of absolute reality. So the arrogance of human beings who think that by putting order in 1%, you can actually harmonize 99%. Nature deals with the whole 100%, and that's why it can balance it. Now, spirituality is not the word that you think, you just sit, raise my legs and be in La La Land and sit up there and I feel spiritual, I feel I don't know what. It's not that. Spirituality means you are living in full harmony with the forces of nature, and you are an agent of transformation of nature through this ultimate balance. But you are not up to it. We don't have the tools for it. So spirituality is actually acknowledging that nature has a certain energy on a certain level that can balance all the visible and invisible energies. Like the center of a circle. We call it sometimes in BioGeometry the centering. There's a centering power, a harmonizing power that is transcendental, that's not on our mind level. So what we do is we try to bring this power into our human system in order to achieve, let's say, the ability to bring order in nature. So I'm really not bringing it myself. I'm asking for it, to get it, to put it in nature. So actually, in BioGeometry, the highest position we are in is being a doorman. Yeah, but you could open the door and nothing comes out. Yeah, you should know that when you open the door, you have something in there that comes out. So let's go a step further. And now, is the spiritual way, the way I'm saying it, is it a matter of choice? Do you have a choice, you think, of being spiritual, not being spiritual? I'm not asking about belief. The way I speak about spirituality is like in the ancient civilizations, a certain energy that brings order in the universe. That is spirituality, not your beliefs. Your beliefs is something, both everyone has his own belief. But this order that comes, let us check a bit, you see, and go into here. When the laws of nature come down and affect this perfect balance, we get a sort of excellence of action. This perfect balance means excellence. Now, I want to tell you one thing. Now, today, people have different religions, different beliefs, different ideologies. But let us, and as a result of that, we're all fighting with each other. So, if we're all fighting with each other, then something must be wrong. You can't be wrong and I'm right. You must be half wrong and I'm half wrong. I mean, so it's a sad situation on what's happening with all our beliefs. So let us go on the energy level, on before all our creeds and all that, and see what is spirituality, what is religion, what is it all about. If we go to very ancient civilizations, we start getting an idea about what it's all about. In ancient Egypt, for example, if you lived in harmony with all the forces of nature, you became an agent in resonance with all those forces of nature. When you did any activity, those forces of nature were interacting through you in that activity. If you're on this level of harmony, you wouldn't understand something called religion. So they didn't have a word for religion because you're already one with nature. So you didn't need. You didn't need a word like philosophy. You didn't need any of those words because you were in there. You were one with nature. The problem happened when as civilizations went on and on, the great shift happened. You know, when the polar shift happens, we call that a great shift. But since we perceive everything from inside and then project it outside, if a shift happens in your brain, it's greater than the shift outside. So the great shift happened when the focus of perception went into the left brain type of perception. We're speaking about types of perception and not locations in the head. So once you go in there, you're not aware of the forces of nature anymore. You don't see them. You're not one with nature. So it's like you're in the left room and you close the door to the right room. Now, when you close the door and you think what's behind that room, first of all, if I tell you, let's open the door, you're afraid. No, you open it. No, you open it. So we became afraid to look at the subconscious or at those higher spiritual levels and all that. We're afraid to open the door. And when we saw that, when Freud started wanting to open the door a bit, he opened it just a little bit like that. Then he saw sex, libido, and death wish and all that. And it's a scary area down there. A lot of power behind that door, you know. So, yeah, because we don't know what happens. But all the laws of nature and everything are behind that door. So we needed a new type of religion to come where people tell us in our cultural context, in our modern language, what is behind that door. Because we're afraid to go there anyhow. So all religions, they don't tell you, explain to you, behind that door there is this. No, they tell you, when you do this action, it would have this effect on that, because 99% is out there, you have 1%. So they tell you which actions on the 9% will resonate properly with the 99, which would resonate improperly. And so we needed this new type of religion. But in all cases, whether it's ancient or modern, any belief that you have, you can sum in one word. The ultimate level of spirituality and in belief can be summed in just one word, and that is excellence. All religions from ancient Egypt till today, all of them, the belief is the one word, excellence. Because the word excellence is a quality. That means it's a relationship between you and the others. And in this relationship, if you want it to be excellent, that means in ultimate harmony, it should have things that you know from here, ultimate truth, ultimate knowledge, ultimate that. Okay, you put those in, they'd make excellence, but that's not enough. Because you can put when you say I'm putting truth in my work, truth in my word, truth in my actions, you're putting 1% of the truth only, 1% of the action. You're only putting of each quality 1% because that's what you possess. So we start a ritual. Since the first humanity, we imitate the animals. We start a ritual, and those rituals are made, irrelevant of belief or anything, are made so that I can take energy from a certain place on earth or in the sky and infuse it into my activity. Then I achieve excellence. And this is religion. You pray and do all what you think and close yourself in your room. You're nowhere. Excellence means excellence of action. So excellence of action means that my actions are, the word excellent I use as the excellence that results from bringing down the 99% into the 1% I know and then putting it in my activity. That is true religion, whatever you call it. You can call it, you can call it ancient Egypt, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. I mean, we can go in such details, but it all comes down to I get this balancing energy into the universe. Why? Because the immune cells in your body, if you go in, if we miniaturize you like that, put you in the veins, you know, like the film, and you go in there and find the immune cells. So you find one, hi there, what are you doing? He tell you, well, I'm a poet. Oh, what? I write poetry. You go to the other one, what are you? I'm an architect, you know. I'm a painter. I'm a soldier. I'm this. But because they have a whole community, and a much more advanced community than ours, because they have the whole 100% of the wisdom in their excellence. So the immune system, the cell, acts with excellence, something we would envy. The immune cell is 100 times more spiritual than any one of us. But this immune cell it's a society, but it might be acting with excellence, and in that excellence there's a higher role that it is doing towards my body, me, that it is not necessarily aware of. None of them will come and tell you, I'm the immune system that is the cell, you know, that is doing that for you and doing that for you. I am not in their data bank to begin with. They have other things. They see a virus, they would know it. But after I'm Ibrahim, guys, hey, I'm Ibrahim. Well, they don't know who is Ibrahim. Okay, so the same thing. You might not know that you have a role to play for the earth and the universe. And this role is this spiritual energy that comes to us in sacred power spots, in sacred times in the sky. There are certain, this BG3 that we measure here, you can find it at certain times in the sky, sacred power spots on earth. So this energy that comes to us, we must, when it comes on the physical level, we should bring it into our action so that our physical action becomes an amplifier and the propagator of this energy into the universe again. So we have a very important role to play in the physical world. Why when we are in the physical world? Because through physical action, we should do sort of resonate, make this energy work. And in the cosmos, there are different energies, and every energy needs propagation to keep the balance of the cosmos. So we are a certain species that should do that.